We have a lot of squirrels around here that I'm sure are looking for a job. There's that squirrel at the Mall of America that rides around on a little jet ski.
Yeah.
Look into that. Look into appointment.
Line number brownfield redevelopment. Here to demystify the operations and functions of the transit authority, materials management, veteran services, CNH. Buy your grandma some AirPods. Break it down into more layman's terms. We're just here to have a little bit of fun.
Hey there, Ottawa County, and welcome back to Ottawa Out Loud, the official podcast of Ottawa County. I am your host, Scott, and hey, y'all, it is the 10th episode extravaganza today. We are doing absolutely nothing different to celebrate the 10th episode, but thank you so much for sticking with us through 10 whole episodes. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to do this for y'all, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I hope you are too. Well, thanks so much for tuning in today. We do have a fantastic episode lined up for you. We are sitting down with Sheriff Eric DeBoer and talking about all the different things that the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office is doing and why it is a pillar of the community here in Ottawa County, as you may know. Quick disclaimer. Like our previous guest on episode 4, Justin Roebuck, Sheriff Eric DeBoer is an elected official. This podcast episode is not meant to serve as any sort of campaign promotion or endorsement or anything. Not that you value my endorsement anyway, because why would you? This episode is really meant to talk about information and talk about some of the cool stuff going on. And I purposely scheduled it on a non-election year because of that reason. So not trying to promote him in a political way in any way, shape, or form. Just a great conversation. We do have a question of the day, everybody. What is one childhood hobby or interest that you've actually maintained or maybe rediscovered in adulthood? I know this is kind of an interesting one. I had 2 really good answers. The first one is Legos. I got my Legos here. I built all those very well into my adulthood, and I had a great time. It's a great way to unwind and relax your mind a little bit and just focus on one thing, and it's really fun to do. Love building Legos, and I also, you guys, I love The Lord of the Rings. Always have, always will. I remember being late for church as a young child many a time because I thought I was almost finished with The Return of the King. That's the 3rd movie. And if you've ever watched The Return of the King, especially the extended editions, you know that if you think you're almost done with that movie, you are not. You've got another half hour or so. Big fan of Tolkien's work, J.R.R. Tolkien. That's, I think, stands for Ronald Rolkin Tolkien or something. Big fan. If anybody wants to talk about the Lord of the Rings universe, I would be happy to tell you absolutely everything. Moving on, we have some announcements for y'all today here. You may have heard a new administrator has been hired by the county, Patrick Waterman. He will be starting here sometime in the next month or so, I believe. But he comes to us from the city of Wyoming, where he was the deputy city manager, and he has some experience here in the county as well. We are really looking forward to having him as our administrator. I'm looking forward to working with him. So look for more information on that coming out soon, and possibly an episode of the podcast. Next up, you guys, I won an award. We won an award. This is us. A couple of awards, actually. There's one over there that I can't reach. The City County Communications and Marketing Association, or 3CMA, has awarded a Savvy Award to Ottawa County for the Ottawa Sands Project. That is the documentary that I directed and produced that released earlier this year. It won in its category of one-time special video programming, meaning that it is the number 1 in the nation, y'all. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's a delightful 25-minute documentary about the really unlikely success of Ottawa Sands County Park, our newest and most exciting park. I've been there a number of times. I've stayed at the campground there. It is a delight, and knowing the story behind it is even cooler. I'm very, very proud of it, and I hope that you have the chance to watch it. It's on YouTube. I'll link it below. Also, this podcast won 3rd place in its category as well. We won the Award of Excellence from 3CMA for regularly scheduled programming, which this is. So thanks for your support on that, of course. Next up, this is a long shot. If anybody happens to know Isaac Tesla, the Lions tight end, who has 2 career catches, both of which are SportsCenter top 10 plays. Put in a good word. Let's get him on the podcast. That is all. Thank you. Next up, I have an intern. Yeah. Nathan, pop your head in for 2 seconds. Come over here, boy. All right. Get out. Just wanted to shout Nathan out. He's been helping me out. Today is actually his first day, but he has helped me out today with setting this up, and it's been a delight so far. So, yay. As always, we do have some Board of Commissioners activity coming up, some meetings here. The next scheduled standing committee meetings, that's the Planning and Policy Committee, as well as the Finance and Administration Committee. They are coming up on Tuesday, October 14th at 9 a.m. in the boardroom at the Fillmore Administration Building in West Olive. Remember, these meetings, the things that they talk about, these lead up to the full board meetings. So a lot of the important business and conversations around different county operations, that happens in these meetings, and they're just as important as the full board meetings. So make sure you are watching those or looking out for my recaps here. The next full board meeting is 2 weeks later on October 28th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, of course. Speaking of board meetings here, we did just have one a couple of days ago on the 23rd of September. You can go back and watch the full meeting recording if you want to, but you could also listen to this summary of the meeting in 3 minutes or less. We'll be here with Sheriff Eric DeBoer when you get back. Hey there, and welcome back to Meeting Minutes, Ottawa County Board of Commissioners meetings conveniently recapped in 3 minutes or less. Today we're covering the September 23rd Board of Commissioners meeting. The full meeting agenda and packet are available on miottawa.org, and this is one of those meetings where following along with the packet might be a good idea. You can watch the full meeting recording over on our YouTube channel, and I'll have a timestamp right here telling you what time to skip to for each motion. And folks, make sure to share this with your friends and show that like button some love to help the algorithm know it should send this to more Ottawa County residents. Let's get into the meeting, shall we? All commissioners were present for this meeting. The board passed all the consent resolutions brought up from the standing committee meetings 2 weeks ago, except for updates to the county's risk management policy, which was tabled until the next meeting to ensure that the correct and up-to-date version of the policy was provided. If you'd like to know more about any of these consent resolution items, go back and watch the September 9th episode. 3 new board appointments were approved. Jack Vandermolen to the Economic Development Corporation and Brownfield Redevelopment Authority through the end of this year, and Lori Brucker and Jim Searles to the Board of County Canvassers for terms through October of 2029. The board approved new County Administrator Patrick Waterman's employment agreement after discussion and a few small amendments regarding the administrator's responsibilities. The board voted to accept settlement offers for 2 ongoing litigation cases, Zimmer v. Ottawa County and Hill and Sanner v. Ottawa County. And believe it or not, that's all for the September 23rd Board of Commissioners meeting. Make sure to tune in for the next episode of Meeting Minutes after the October 14th standing committee meetings. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Or don't. You're a free American. I can't tell you what to do. All right. Hey, welcome back, everybody. As you see, I have a guest with us here today. This is Sheriff Eric DeBoer of our very own Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. How you doing today, Sheriff?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Should I call you Sheriff, or can I
call you? You may call me Eric. That's
all right.
Yeah.
Not like a Your Honor.
I don't know if there's an honorable there somewhere. People call me Sheriff, but it's been 9 months, and it still kind of throws me every once in a while. So.
Sheriff Eric DeBoer, Esquire, His Excellency, the 5th.
I think my father would have something to say about that.
Yeah,
sure,
probably.
Could be. Yeah.
Okay, hey. He's not a guest on my podcast.
There you go. I guess it's your podcast. You make the rules right now.
All right. Well, we got some stuff to talk about here today. First, I want our audience here, whom I love so much, to get the chance to learn a little bit about you, really who you are, and sort of how you got to this illustrious position across the table from me here today.
Well, I answered an email is how I got across the table, but ultimately, I started out with the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office when I was 19. I was I think a freshman at Calvin College, and my suite mate was from Spring Lake. I grew up in Chicago, and he said, "Hey, I know you want to get into law enforcement. They have a Marine Patrol, and they have their own certification. You don't have to go to the academy. You don't have to be done with college yet." And I thought, well, that sounds like a better summer job than what I had planned, because I'd been working at a public works department for years, and so I came in and I interviewed, and I just fell in love with the men and women of the Sheriff's Department at the time. And we'd always been coming up here. We had a place up here in Michigan as a child, so moving here after college was a no-brainer.
Nice.
And I never left. So spent 3 years during my college years on the Marine Patrol, and then spent some time on patrol and community policing out in a township down in the southwest side of the county, Park Township. And after that, I went undercover for a couple years working narcotics, and then I was promoted to detective. I spent about 8 years as a detective, and then went back to the road as a supervisor, and then answered a phone call to come have coffee with the sheriff and the undersheriff, and they asked if I'd be interested in running for sheriff. And we kind of talked through it for a couple weeks and made the decision that we'd try it out, and so here we are.
There we go. Awesome. That's really cool. I did look you up a little bit, and everything he said is true.
Or I put it on the internet before that.
Yeah. I didn't even consider that. So you got started in policing very young.
Yeah.
I mean, about as early as you can.
Yeah.
If you had to go back to 19 years old and someone said, legally you cannot get into policing at all, what do you do?
I don't know if it's a well-known fact up here, but I would imagine a certain portion of our listening audience understands if you're Dutch and you're from Chicago, you're in the garbage business, and you have a summer home in Holland, Michigan, or Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
Wow.
We were a garbage family in business, not in reputation.
Okay, I was gonna ask.
Sure.
Just
My father owned a garbage business, and I worked there when I was younger. So did my sister, and it became obvious pretty early in my life that my father and I, while he is one of my best friends right now, are too similar to work together.
Yep.
And so it was only a couple years summer jobs working for him that I realized that probably wasn't something that I wanted to do. And ironically, I didn't want to sit in an office all day to take over his garbage business. Now, he obviously had me working on the truck. He believed that you should work every position before you become the boss there.
Makes sense, given
yeah.
your track record.
Right. Well, and yeah, there's certain things that I fought growing up that I realize now are very much who I am.
Yeah.
And so I laughed. I didn't want to run. I didn't want to sit in an office and just make decisions all day. I wanted to be outside. That's why I wanted to become a cop. And then all of a sudden here I am in an office all day going, man, I kind of ran away from it so hard that I ran right into it.
Yeah,
so,
I know you had to put in the work to
100%.
get to that point. You don't start in an office.
No.
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
I said, now I think about all the things that taught me and all the things that now I take for granted in my work ethic and what I expect from those around me, that it's just kind of weird. I guess I don't tell him that enough, but hopefully he won't watch this. I'm sure he will.
Well, I think there's something heartfelt.
Well, I don't want him lording it over me every Sunday when we go over there for Sunday dinner. So
I heard you were thankful for the lessons I taught you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, trust me, I'll hear about it.
My dad works in like swimming pools
Oh, yeah?
business, and one summer I said, "Hey, why don't I come and work with you?" And he said, "No, you are built to sit in an office,
Yeah.
and I don't know, do photos and videos or whatever." Here I am.
Hey, it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was right. Manual labor. These hands are built for shaking.
There you go.
So you're 9 months into office,
Mm-hmm.
going close to 10 months in. How do you feel?
It's been really, really exciting. It's been really fun. So because I've been here since I was 19, all the things that, there are two things cops don't like: how things are and change. So we all sit in the office when you have a minute, or you go door to door with your partner, and you think, why doesn't headquarters do this, or why not that? And one of two things happens. Either now, in my spot, I have the information that I understand why the decisions were made, or I can change them.
Yeah.
And so we brought in an undersheriff that had retired out of Kent County and was the director of the academy at GRCC, to bring in some new ideas and his leadership. And we sat down and started working out what we wanted and what we wanted to look, what we wanted our agency to look like. We kind of had all these plans, and they were like long-term plans. They were 3 and 4 year plans. And then all of a sudden things lined up where we were like, looks like we're going to do this a little quicker. So things have been moving, and it's not just stuff that makes me excited as the sheriff. We're hearing from the men and women on the line that they're excited about where we're going and this kind of a bit of a culture change that we've got that we're pressing. Nice. And it's really been really exciting to see kind of everybody respond. Again, I understand, because I went from sergeant. I was the undersheriff for a year, but most of that time was campaigning. So I went from sergeant to sheriff pretty quick, and so there is a strange fear that now that I'm the sheriff, people aren't telling me the things they used to be able to tell me when I was on the road. So maybe
all of
they
a sudden inaccessible.
Well, or just like, hey, I don't want to tell you that things are still bad because I don't want you to get angry with me, and I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah.
And we've been surveying the men and women a lot to be like, hey, we got this going on. What can you tell us? Or we just put out an employees engagement survey, and I heard that we were getting a lot of responses really quick. So that hopefully they feel that I honestly want feedback, so I know if we're going in the right direction. But there's always that underflow of worry that, like, am I just getting told what I want to hear? Because like, oh yeah, you're so great, Sheriff. Because I'm not that guy. It makes me uncomfortable anyway. So it's like, I'd rather you just complain about something so I can be like, cool, how are we going to fix it? Or hey, what ideas do you have?
At this point in my career, please tell me I'm so great.
Yeah, when it's early on, I was the same way too, right?
Maybe a little feedback if I'm feeling open to it. But
Sure.
No, I'm glad that you're feeling good and that things are. It doesn't sound like you're running into a lot of the roadblocks that maybe you expected.
Every change is a challenge, right? So but that's the fun of it,
Yeah.
right? If it was easy, then what fun is that?
Right.
So some of the
I
stuff,
have this table here.
Yeah.
And then one day I said, let's put the table here.
right, and just like that. But if it wasn't
Did it,
hard,
America.
but if it wasn't hard to roll it over here because the wheels are only so good on the carpet, then it wouldn't have been that fulfilling, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go in and you'll say, hey, we want to do this change. What are going to be the things that are hard for us? And if it's political, if it's monetary, if it's cultural, we have to sit there and be like, okay, how do we overcome that? And I've got such a great team from the undersheriff down to the cadets that, you know, if I can explain why we're doing something and explain how it benefits the agency, even to somebody's individual detriment. So we've got this big reorganization going on.
Yeah, I want to ask about that.
Yeah, and so that to some screws up their career map, right? They were a detective.
They
were on
it up a little bit.
Well, they were on days. They were a detective. They want to make supervisor. They want to make a sergeant. There used to be a good, easy way. You just had to wait for the right spot to go in a different role, and there was a way to be assigned into a day shift. Whereas now it's going to probably mandate you going back to nights for a little while, and so that's a hard time because if you're on long enough to have been a detective, you've got a young family. Like when I did it, I had 2 young kids, a wife that works, and it was really, really hard for us. And so I was lucky enough to have the ability to do that. But some people, I was talking to one of them, and like, hey, given what my spouse does, I don't have that daycare option. I don't have family nearby. So it screws it up. But the one person that I can really think of said, like, this really screws things up for me, but it makes sense for the agency. And so even to their own detriment, they're willing to get on board and push and find solutions. And that's been the really cool thing is I have, somewhere between 200 and 300 employees at any point in time, and they all are working to try and fix the things that don't even rise to be on my radar. So if we can get them all saying, hey, you have the ability to improve this if you want to, that's been really fun to watch because that hasn't always been the case. And maybe it's a bad idea, but they don't know why. So then I just have to say, hey, this is a part of the puzzle you didn't have. Let me explain that to you.
Yeah, communication is really, good communication leads to buy-in.
Sure.
And if people just have the information and know that you care enough to give them the information, that goes so long. All my years of leadership experience.
Right. Well, and the hurdle to that is it's not a police department. It's a sheriff's office. A police department may have a headquarters out of one building where you see everybody every day. Our people are spread over this county, and we have branch offices. And so how do we get the message there and then get the information back is a different kind of challenge. And that's one that sheriff's offices deal with throughout the state. I'm lucky enough that we're big enough that we can reorganize like we're doing. But some of the smaller ones, it's even harder. So
wow. Yeah, I thought of carrier pigeons.
Yeah, it's always a thing, right?
We have a lot of squirrels around here that I'm sure are looking for a job.
Yeah, we had some at Calvin that would get really close to you.
They had there's that squirrel at the Mall of America that rides around on a little jet ski.
Yeah,
that squirrel is trained, so you can.
We do have a lot of water.
Look into that. Look into that. Okay,
put that on the list.
You mentioned the difference between a sheriff's office and a police department, and like I have a basic understanding. Can you, for some of our listeners who may not know more about that, can you explain that a little bit?
So ultimately, a police department is run by a chief that is an at-will or contracted employee through the city, the mayor, whatever. The sheriff's office is obviously an elected position like we alluded to earlier. And so the sheriff is elected, and then he assigns out or or employs deputies to do the work. The other main difference are what some of our constitutionally mandated duties. We have to provide a jail, and then we do have to have a marine patrol to recover bodies on open bodies of water. And so because we are on Lake Michigan, we have one of the larger marine patrols in the state.
Yeah. Okay.
So
cool. That is neat.
And there's some other things obviously, but that's like the lion's
We can
share.
talk about that all day.
Court security, we're in charge of security for the courts and serving court paperwork and health petitions too. So
Okay. So you talked about some of the things that you are looking to change and improve. What are some of the big? You talked about the reorganization, but what are some of the other big things that are changing?
Yeah. So the reorganization is really the large one, just because of how it'll impact pretty much everything on the patrol side. So the Sheriff's Department contracts with a number of townships and then cities and villages. So if let's say you were in a town and you wanted to, you didn't want to pay for your police force, and so Coopersville, Hudsonville, and Spring Lake Ferrysburg have all dissolved their police departments over the course of time and contracted with the sheriff's office to do services. A lot of our funding comes from townships as well, saying as we grow, it's our responsibility to pay for police, and then the county's responsible to administer that, whether that be supervision, detectives, people in my command staff, records. So as you see areas in the county where there's more and more policing, it's generally because the township understands, hey, we're growing, we need a little bit more, and it's my job as the sheriff to inform them on call volumes and response times to help them make a decision on when it's time to invest more. And then as we grow with deputies, then I go to the county and say, hey, it's time to put on more detectives, more sergeants. So
yeah. Interesting.
So that's the big reorganization kind of changes.
Some might call that boring numbers stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Some might find it really interesting. Don't get me wrong.
I doubt many do, but I do, and it's got me very. We were just talking about before I came over here. I am very excited because we hit rubber meets road here in about a month and a half.
Okay.
And because it's so new, we can reinvent a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's going to be
the wheel, perhaps.
Yes, I mean all of it, including spokes and hub and the whole thing. But it's up to each individual lieutenant to kind of figure out their own way through it, and then come back with the ideas that are working. So there's going to be some fun innovation here in the next little bit, and it'll be curious to see how that works. So I'm pretty excited.
Okay.
So that's the big one that excites me. The one that has the deputies really excited is a uniform change.
Okay.
So historically, the Michigan Sheriff's Association has set colors and patches and but everybody's been kind of going away from that, and we've been pretty traditional. I've never been a huge fan of the brown, though I've been in it since I was 19.
Yeah.
And so the deputies have been clamoring for new uniforms. We wear what would be considered a dress type uniform during work, and with police work being what it is, it's getting a little bit more rough and tumble and trying to fight and run through the woods and stuff in dress pants. It's been getting harder and harder. So we've got some new uniforms coming out, both in our work uniforms and our dress uniforms, and that's got everybody kind of buzzing out there. And the undersheriff and I are pretty excited because that might be the end of our suit days. We might go back to being uniform guys because they're actually pretty comfortable.
Nice. So. I know how I feel after I come home from Old Navy.
I got some new slacks.
Like, ooh, man.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a whole. Almost brand new outfit. Just
you're looking sharp. You're looking.
Thank you. So are you. I've heard of some other different innovative stuff. The body cameras and car dash cameras.
Yeah.
Interested to hear about those.
Yeah, and so right around the end of last calendar year, we got the first round of body worn cameras on the deputies. Before that same contract, that same technological system, that same company, we transferred all of our digital evidence. So anytime a deputy goes out to the scene, our pictures are now digital pictures, not Polaroids like when I started.
Oh, wow.
But they're digital pictures, or like the camera from the security footage or whatever that looks like. We all keep that. It used to be on discs. We'd take a CD, burn it to a CD, put it in an envelope, and put it in evidence with everything else, which is not helpful.
Yeah.
And so years ago, we switched over to an internal server that was built by one of our detectives because she's amazing. But we were moving away from that and going to Axon. And so evidence.com, we moved all our digital evidence in preparation for our body cameras being evidence.
Right.
December of last year, the body cameras went on. Or it might have been even before that. It might have been late fall. And then January was the cars. I'd have to sit back and remember. I can't quite remember. It was right at the end of last year. Then we started getting in-car cameras. And then recently our court services deputies, so the ones in charge of security at the courts, and our Marine Patrol got trained on them as well.
Nice.
So that's the part that everybody understands. Because
Yeah.
they see camera, they understand camera. The backside of it is it's continuing to innovate our agency in that. There are softwares built into this to help us get that video footage and prepare it for public release. If you send a FOIA there to get it ready for court and send it to the prosecutor's office so they can review it when they're making the decision to charge or not. Another one would be if you have an officer complaint. Before, there was a form that we would fill out in, I think it was like a fillable PDF or a fillable Word document. I can't remember. And then it would just get emailed back and forth. And we would look into it, but we didn't have video. Now we have video. So now there's a way in Axon to get that, attach the video to it, review it, have a good look if they were in policy or out, make a disposition, and then either put it in their file or run a disciplinary hearing or put in for new training because it was a training issue because it was, our policy wasn't good enough, or to change our policy for the same reason. All those things can be done in that system. So all these things are coming and being professionalized. That's behind the scenes, and the normal person on the side of the road just knows that we have a camera on.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then the other part of it is we're all learning that we're kind of content creators, right? So
In a way,
it used to be like it was just a camera on you that was watching you, but now as you go through, maybe when you're walking down a path where somebody had run and thrown things, you narrate it to the camera, and then you can press a button and mark something on a GPS to say, here's where a piece of evidence was.
That would make a great TikTok account. Just
right.
like, hey guys, come with me to investigate a robbery.
Right. So so part of that is, it was there to keep you accountable, and it's there to help you provide evidence. But ultimately, what are you doing as a deputy? You are trying to prepare to be convincing to a jury of whatever evidence you found. Yeah. So understanding so that's got to change how we do things over time, because people are going to start understanding that.
So it's not just it saves time and it makes everything easier for us internally.
It makes better cases.
Better cases and more accountability for everybody. And we love that.
Yeah, and it's funny because you'd think like the old cops would be angry because, hey, I don't want people watching me and whatnot. By the time they were ready to go out, everybody's like, it'd be great. People trying to accuse us of being rude all the time, and it's not that we're rude. They just don't like the fact that they got a ticket, or they don't like the fact that their excuse didn't make us change our mind. Yeah. And so we get, so-and-so was rude, and we watch it, and they're like, no, they were perfectly professional. They weren't even, it wasn't even undertones of rude. They just didn't like it, and so we can dispo it. So the deps are ready. We're ready for it at that point, because they're like, perfect. I have no problem with how I treat people.
And that is no matter what industry you're in, if you are willing to let people look in at what you're doing, chances are you're not doing anything wrong.
Right, right. And then, and I'm not going to say that policing in general is perfect. There's too many of us to not screw up. And so when we do screw up, we have the ability to see, did you screw up because you meant well and you made a poor choice? Was it malicious? Were you doing what our policy says, but honestly our policy needs to be addressed? Was it a training issue? So where does, if it's a wrong thing, where does the culpability lie? Do we need to fix ourselves, or do we need to teach you on how to do it? Or are you just not cut out for this business? And in that case, we deal with that too.
Yeah. So I've heard some good news about recruiting efforts, and I've been hearing a lot about that over the past few months. You want to tell us where we are with staffing and everything right now?
Yeah. I hesitate to do it because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But right now, last week or the week prior, we actually closed our position at HR for our law enforcement deputies. So it's actually been great. We've had a bunch of laterals, a couple from in-state, a couple from out of state. And then one returning retiree that said, you know what, I want to come back. And we said, we got a spot for you.
Hey, that's great.
And so I think we reposted an opening, but it's not that we're actively hiring. But if you work for another agency and you would like to come and work for Ottawa, you can put your name in, and when we have an opening, we'll call you. So it's for laterals only. So I'm sure the other chiefs and sheriffs love that. So we'll poach from that. But then the correction side, we're still actively recruiting. So if you're out there, you're looking to be involved in your community, you want to help keep this place safe, you want to help people become better versions of themselves than how they came to our facility, we're always hiring in our corrections division, and it's an amazing place to be, an amazing place to work. And help out with what we got going on here at the sheriff's office.
That gets me into what I was going to ask. Why?
what you just gave a great sales pitch,
sure.
but what's in it for people to work here?
Yeah, I jokingly say there's lateral incentives, and if you are moving, that is a thing, right? Because generally you're a couple years into your career, you have a family, and you can't start over again. So yes, we give a year for year up to our max, or actually up to our 5-year step in corrections. But none of us are doing this for the money. Why you would want to come to work for the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office? There's really no better explanation than the incredible support that we enjoy here from the people of Ottawa County. And I'll give you an example. Back in 2020, there was a decent push, an anti-police movement you felt if you watched the national news. And so during that time, there were a number of riots, we'll call them, in a neighboring county. And our mobile field force built to respond to that was out assisting with that. And so we spent the better part of a couple days out there during some riots. Right after that, we heard that there was going to be a similar demonstration in a city in Ottawa County that was in support of some of the groups that were against the police. But I don't know that I can really say the riot was anti-police. But
It was a little muddy.
it was, 100%.
Yeah, and everyone has different motivations, and it's all
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And to that point specifically is we were all sitting in a government building with most of our gear on waiting, and we were told, we've got units out on the street watching, and they'll kind of guide us through, and if something gets out of hand, they'll call us. And so they started, and we got the radio call. They're leaving the park, and they're starting down the road. So we all started kind of getting up because we'd been sitting for a minute. And they're coming up to the first intersection. They're stopping at the red light. They're waving to us and saying, thank you for being here. They were people of this community that were actively out there expressing their point of view that they were displeased with some of the police actions out in the greater community, but understood that it wasn't us, and that even if it was, they still going to act a way that they appreciated the sheriff's office and that we were there keeping them safe while they were there protesting, which is really pretty cool if you think about it. And we were sitting there at the time. I was a detective, and we were like, yeah, let's just get our stuff off because they get all this gear off and start packing up because this won't be a thing. And just so that's the type of support that we enjoy. And I think it's based on the relationships that this office has built with its community over the course of my predecessors, right? Like during those same riots, we were just kind of sitting there. There wasn't really anything actively going around. It was like early in the day before in the evening that they were concerned about. And there was a gentleman, much like it might have been you for all I know. He had a selfie stick and a camera and a one-wheeler, and he was filming what appeared to be B-roll as he rolled down our line, kind of shooting up at us. And he stopped, and he goes, you guys are Ottawa, aren't you? And it doesn't say Ottawa anywhere on us. It says sheriff. We have a number, so if you wanted to make a complaint, but it doesn't say Ottawa on our gear. And I said, why do you say that? He goes, you are, aren't you? I said, oh, yeah, we are. But why would you say that? He goes, you can just tell. You treat people different. And that's the historical context that our predecessors, both in leadership but on the road, have had with our communities and have fostered that. So when we talk about all these changes and we talk about these things that excite me to improve upon, it's really important that I keep that target in mind and that nothing we do to change, whether it be a reorganization, our uniforms, any technology, doesn't get away from that relationship part. Because honestly, that's why you want to come here. Because you can be any type of police you want to be. You want to be, out in the country somewhere where it's just you in some fields, and you can work up in the Northeast. You want to work in a city kind of feel. We have a number of cities that we police. We have a number of outside of the city of Holland, like our north side of Holland. That's bumping. If you want to be a school resource officer and really engage with children, and then be able to coach on your off time, we have that. So all these opportunities for your primary assignment. And then secondary assignments is really where we kind of shine. We don't have full-time, a lot of these teams. We have secondary assignments. So you could be a patrol deputy and be on our dive team. You can be a patrol deputy and be on our CRT, which is our version of a SWAT team. You can be a deputy and be on our drone team, or, so we have all these opportunities. Nice. And so that's the thing that I think makes me glad that I kind of backed into here because I fell in love with the people. I didn't think about that when I was 19.
Right.
I just said,
I wasn't thinking about much when I was 19.
No, right? Every department has its own personality, just like everyone has its own personality, just like every group of citizenry has its own personality. And it's really important for you as an individual to take a lot of, self-reflection and figure out what fills my cup. What at the end of the day makes me feel like I made a difference today.
Yeah.
Because it's not always, you're not going to solve a homicide every shift.
Right.
Right? But if you go and you make a connection with, I remember really early in my career, a gentleman, he was taken advantage of through some mail scheme. And I realized in talking with him, he was just kind of lonely. He had no family nearby. And so I just put it in my calendar that every other Thursday I would stop by and sit and have a cup of coffee with him. I would get so much out of that because some guy, he's had some great life experiences. It's fun stories. But if that's the kind of thing that makes you feel like you had a good day, then figure out what departments do that. If you're a guy that's like, I want to write tickets, I want to take people to jail, I don't want to do follow-up, I just want to push it along. There are agencies out there that's the entry level for you, and that's not wrong. Yeah. It's good for them. If it's good for you, find that place.
Right.
And so if you want to come and be a part of a community like ours and engage with that community, yeah, we're going to take people to jail. Yeah, we're going to solve crimes, and we're certainly going to support victims of crimes and do everything we can to make them feel like they're safe again. And in that time, we're going to be a part of these communities and not going to alienate people and bring them. So it's not an us versus them. It's an all of us versus bad decisions. So
that's awesome, because I wanted to ask a little bit about some of the community outreach events that are going on. I know the Avoid Financial Scam seminars have been very popular. Mm-hmm. There are a few coming up. We have October 8th from 1 to 3 p.m. That's in this building here at the Fillmore Complex. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. No? Okay.
I don't have that calendar, and I don't give that presentation any longer.
Fair enough. October 22, 2 to 4 p.m. at Waterford Place in Jenison, and then November 5th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. in the main conference room here at the Fillmore Administration Building. Those are led by Detective Joe Monger, and those seem to be really popular and very effective.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're noticing. For a short time when I was a detective, I was in frauds as well. Mm-hmm. And it was right around the advent of cryptocurrency, or the popularity of cryptocurrency. Yep. And there were a lot of...
almost got in on the ground floor when I was like 14, I decided not to.
Almost as bad as that one guy, would he sell a pizza for like 4 of them? Did you hear about that?
Now they're worth like $110,000.
There was a big push towards a lot of these online scams. So there's like 2 types of frauds. There's the local frauds where people are, embezzling from their home or from their home businesses and whatnot.
That's illegal.
Yeah. Fiscal, if we can take a look at his budget lines, please. Thank you. And then these online ones. Well, the problem with the online type of crimes is it's really hard for us to do a lot of follow-up. Now, that's not to say it doesn't happen. We have outlets, we have federal partners that help us with that. There's a portal for us to put some of these complaints into, and I used to do it just as kind of catharsis for the victims to say, hey, we notified the federal authorities, and then I received a phone call from the FBI saying, oh, we're working that case down in, I want to say it was like the Philippines or Manila or someplace, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And they followed up on it. So it does exist that they follow up.
Gentlemen, we got him.
I don't know if we got him. We just sent the information. Then it just is out of my hands. Okay. But you lose $5,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Jeez.
But it's not enough to send. At the time, I was asking my captain to send me to Nigeria so I could follow up the lead on it. He wouldn't do it
yourself.
He apparently they wouldn't do that. And now that I'm helped with some of the budgeting, that's probably wise. So ultimately, this program was enacted to just kind of get everybody a little bit more educated on what things are more than likely fraudulent, which ones are real.
Yeah.
Because along with this, there's a certain amount of shame when you are defrauded. And so either you
don't want to admit it.
You don't want to admit it. Worse is to yourself, so that you continue on and you're like, this can't be a fraud. They just need a little bit more money, and now you're throwing good money after bad.
Yeah.
Or more specifically, you don't want to tell your family, and now you're out a lot of money. Yeah. That program was developed by Detective Monger to kind of help educate some of more at-risk groups to try and keep that to a minimum. It's hard to measure prevention, and that's a lot of what we do. I mean, does the door shield going down your driveway stop someone from breaking in? We'll never know, but we like to think so, and we're going to keep doing it. Same thing here. So
I used to work retail, and the amount of times I had someone coming in saying, I need to buy $500 in Apple gift cards because my nephew is in Zanzibar and he's being held captive. I'm like, Go ahead and call your nephew. What's the number?
Well, and the scary part is with the advent of some more of these technologies, some of the AI generated stuff out there, all of a sudden, it used to be voice. I don't trust a voice. Now you can't hardly trust video calls anymore either. And so you just need to be really, really careful about where you send money. And then
I could clone your voice and make you say just about anything. That's actually why we're here on the podcast, specifically to gather data to clone your voice.
Hopefully you'll clone my voice and give me good answers to your questions, make me look real good.
I'll do that, and I will defraud the public.
Okay.
How about me in the middle?
Well, I guess we can have a conversation about that.
All right. Honey, I am going to jail. Please come pick me up.
That's why I always have bond money in your wallet.
Yeah. Other outreach events. This is hilarious. I saw a little blurb about Cops and Bobbers.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, if you didn't go last time, you got to go next time.
Come on, go to Cops and Bobbers, you guys.
That was fun. I went home that night, and there were a number of events going on, and I hadn't been to an event in a while, and I knew we had Cops and Cones going on in like the Holland area, and we had Cops and Bobbers at Ottawa Sands, which I believe you had some parks people on in your podcast.
Yes.
And Ottawa Sands is gorgeous.
Dude, you're preaching to the choir.
So I knew about that, and so I went home, and it had been a long time since my whole family had been together at the dinner table because sports and you know how that goes, right?
I believe it.
And I was like, hey, do you want to go to Cops and Cones? Do you want to just go to the pool? Do you want to go to Cops and Bobbers? Or you just want to stay home for the night? And the kids were like, we're going to Cops and Bobbers. So I got my uniform on. We went up there, and the kids fished, and there were people everywhere. Even my wife got in on it, and it was a riot. We had so much fun, and honestly, I don't know who had bigger smiles on their faces, the kids or the deputies, because I've got a number of deputies that just absolutely adore fishing, and the fact that they get to park their car, and this goes back to why you want to work here, right?
Yeah, right.
You go out on patrol, you write tickets, you take some people to jail, you take some complaints, and you help some victims, and then you get to park your car, and then you get to go fishing with a bunch of kids. And like, what better job is there, right?
Well, I really love that there are so many community outreach events. I think that can only do good for the community. And
honestly, I expect with this reorganization, one of the pushes for it is we're putting a lieutenant out we're dividing the county up into 3 districts. We're putting a lieutenant out in each of those districts.
That's almost 4 districts.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. 3 is almost 4. Some of these programs fell off during COVID.
Yeah.
And then we hired a ton of people around that time. And so some of that, that identity was kind of, we were losing it a little.
Yeah.
And luckily our older deputies, now sergeants and lieutenants and captains, still remember. And so it's it's time to re-educate these guys with, 3, 5 or less years on the Ottawa way.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you talk to HR or any of them about the Ottawa way training or, that's still something we very much believe in the upper administration, and we just have to bring back and teach our new people. So
I actually almost titled this podcast the Ottawa Way Podcast.
Yeah, I tell you, we laughed so hard when we heard we were going to this training. As a deputy, I thought, this is stupid, and then I went to it, and we all went, they just put into words what we've always been doing and what we've always believed. And so I always kind of took pride when you see the Ottawa Way posters like in the private areas just to remind you. So like, it's a weird place, but there was like a little banner like in the bathroom to remember.
That's the best place because you're
captive audience and you're looking
for at least a minute.
Yeah, instead of reading the back of the the hairspray bottle somebody leaves in there and you get somebody. But it was just it was an outward manifestation of these things that we'd always kind of held. And so I'm hoping I was really excited to see the email last week that's kind of coming back. Mm-hmm. And so we were trying to look at how we get our new hires through that too. So,
well, Sheriff, is there anything else that you'd like to say to me, to say to the public? All 300 and some thousand people in the county watch this.
And that is quite the viewership. Yeah. You can't get outside the county. You don't have people from other counties looking at us with jealousy.
I've had a couple of European viewers. I get to see some of the stats.
Sure. That's pretty cool.
Couldn't tell you why.
Which countries?
Italy. I think I had one from Liechtenstein.
All right. There you go.
Yeah. We love you, Liechtensteinian viewers.
Come on out and visit. It's beautiful.
Yeah. You will come on the podcast if you're here. I will let you know.
That's quite the promise.
Yeah. So. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Well, folks, huge thanks to Sheriff DeBoer for coming out and joining us on the podcast today. Thanks so much.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that conversation that I had with Sheriff DeBoer as much as I did. I really thought it was a fantastic conversation. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. Make sure that if you haven't already followed or subscribed to our channel or to this podcast, I want to make sure that you get future episodes delivered straight to you instead of having to go search them out. So make sure you're liking or following. Give us a rating if you want to. It's a thumbs up on YouTube. That's a 5 stars on Spotify. I think it's a 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. I don't know. Give a good rating if you can. Leave a comment if you have anything to say or an answer to our question of the day. And remember, knowledge is power, and local government works best when you're a part of it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.